Hey guys, we're going to be going to Scorn of the Genies hard mode for another all mission clear, like basically challenge mode. We're going to be doing it with Lara Croft, who is going to be soloing this very mage focused fight as a physical unit. One Lara Croft, going to do all missions for us. Let's go ahead and show off the power of the Tomb Raider. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky. There's a lot going on here to really be anti-physical, but we've got a plan for it, and you'll see it as we carry it out. So we're going to shift and stack up Lara's LB. We're going to use Kresnik to fill LB gauge. Wait for this to finish. That way we can use Cacteria to break. We're going to use Gun in Peril with Original Lightning. And the reason we're using Original Lightning is we needed an AoE Gun in Peril, and what's her name? Louise's is single target. We're going to go ahead and mitigate, cover, and what's it called? Immunity buff with Behemi. Alright, so we've got 2 turns of Behemi's Magnus, which is going to be huge mitigation, so we're fine there. Alright, so to fill the rest of Lara's LB in the first turn, we're going to go back to the base form that's using LB fill gear. Once the turn begins, back to the base form. And we're going to shift Behemi. And Behemi is going to AoE chain and imbue us with Earth Element. So Earth Imbue, and then AoE chain. And that'll get a crystal for Lara, you know, hopefully. AoE chaining, it should get at least 1 crystal. Alright, we're good. Let's go ahead and shift Lara, and now we're going to start AoE capping some actual chains. We're going to shift Lightning to the base form and AoE chain. Yeah, it's not AoE chain. AoE chain. We're going to shift Cacteria to the shift form and AoE chain, and start capping it with Lara Croft. Now, Lara Croft's LB is a stacking LB, so she'll be doing more damage the more she uses it. This is still currently stacking up. We got a stack on turn 1. And this is a stack on turn 2. So starting on turn 3, it'll be at max power. Alright, let's go ahead and fill LB gauge with Kresnik. And now Lara's LB will be filled guaranteed every turn, because Behemi is now shifted, and while shifted, he counters AoE LB fill, and that gives us exactly enough that we need to fill Lara between him and Kresnik. So Lara's vision card is 5, Behemi is 5, and Kresnik is 40. That's the 50 LB we need. Guaranteed, even if she gets no drops, because this fight actually doesn't drop that many LB crystals, but it's guaranteed from this point forward. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue to deal some damage. Let's go ahead and chain and cap. So Lara's LB is now at the maximum modifier. It's been stacked to the maximum, so big damage at this point. Okay, let's fill with Kresnik and go ahead and guard Behemi. Behemi has now lost his good Magnus mitigation, because it's only a 2-turn Magnus. But guarding, plus he's also using some auto mitigation from Saintly Castle, so he's technically okay, but still very painful. Now on turn 3, the enemies imbued us with the wind element, and they absorb wind, or at least one of them does. That's all that it matters, though. So to get rid of that wind imbue, we're going to use Kresnik. So let's go ahead and dispel our own party before we chain again. You know, if you're using mages like you're supposed to be, this imbue you ignore, but for physical units, you kind of got to deal with it. So we're going to go ahead and fill LB and MP and all for the party with Kresnik. We're going to Dispelga, and then we're going to stat buff, because we are dispelling our own party. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Let's retarget our party for the Dispel to get rid of the wind imbue. Perfect. Okay, let's go to the base form with Behemi. And we're going to use Fenrir. That's summoned in Esper for the mission. Now, Behemi, because we're not using any mitigation, basically, because we dispelled ourselves, he's probably going to die here if we don't finish the fight. But we might finish the fight. We lost the imbue on Lara as well, which is another problem. So she's now non-elemental capping. But because she's stacked up to the maximum at this point, and we do have a stat buff from Kresnik, it might still finish off the fight anyway. Looks like it did. Yep. So there we go. All missions 4 turns with a single Lara Croft as damage. That's impressive. These enemies have enormously high defense. They imbue your party. They break your attack. They are just really like big please don't use physical units here. Not to mention the double damage field only applies to mages, not physicals. And one Lara carried that fight. Although, Cacteria did help a tiny amount. So to be fair, she was geared for damage, and I'll show you the gear in 1 second. But yeah, Lara Croft is pretty strong. So that's the reason I went ahead and chased her today, because strong unit, very strong unit. Let me go ahead and show you the gear for the team we used just now. To do all missions on the Genies. Now, I don't recommend you do that at home. That was pretty tricky to pull off. It was more just like a challenge to myself to get it done. But anyway, so we're on Fenrir for Behemoth. That's because if we had not finished the fight on turn 4, Behemoth probably would have died during the first wave of AoEs, and then Fenrir would let us Mirage one of the physicals that may or may not have gotten through. But anyway, we did that to summon an Esper. So let's go ahead and show the team. Base form Behemoth is using some auto buff. There we go. A lot of defense, a lot of HP. Mechanical Heart for the auto healing. Shift form, pretty much the same thing. Now that I'm thinking about it, I should have given him auto protect as well, so that when we dispelled ourselves, we still had mitigation. It didn't matter, but that could have been important potentially. Whatever. Kresnik is just using the quad attack normal. He's just filling LB gauge every turn. He also did our dispel on the party to get rid of that wind imbue, which is a problem. Behemoth synergy so that we can fill the Esper gauge by turn 4, just guaranteed, you know. I was going to dual cast for the dual cast dispel trick, but then I remembered, oh wait a minute, he can actually triple cast his dispel gauge anyway, so I didn't even need that. Lara Croft in the base form using some auto buffing, Decay Amulet to survive the break on turn 2. A lot of LB fill for when we get that LB fill on the turn 2, like you saw the way we did it. Shift form, damage. I really wish Item World was still open, because I want to Item World her gun so I can cap her attack stat. I can't cap her attack stat without Item World, which really sucks, but whatever. Chain Cap Helm, Fairy Killer. She has LB damage naturally. Her own card is very important. Only EX2. If I had an EX3 Lara, this would be a lot stronger, but I don't, at least not yet. Maxed Fairy Killer, maxed LB damage, and that was the... Oh, nope, I didn't show the other 2 units. Cacteria in the base form is kind of like whatever. Just a lot of auto buffing, Call of the Wild, and Paintbrush as well, so she can LB on turn 1. Shift form, double fist for her own fist in peril. She's built for damage against fairy. I think she has maxed everything, honestly. Yeah, maxed Fairy Killer, and 4,900 magic. And then Lightning was geared as our provoker. She is passive provoke with 250 fire, wind, and dark, and she's using an earth weapon. So after we dispel our party, she can still earth chain with our Cacteria. So we elemental chain to build the chain quicker so that Lara can cap it even after Lara gets dispelled and loses her imbue. Anyway, here is her base form gear, and shift form gear is identical. Shift form used the gun target for the 35% gun in peril, and that's AoE. Yeah, like I mentioned, Louise's gun in peril is single target, whereas Lightning's is AoE. So for an AoE fight, you want that to imperil for Lara Croft. Anyway, see you next time.